which in turn leads to clear, effective, and correct policies, because the danger of assuming things that are not correct, leading to decisions based on faulty foundations, is one that he has impressed upon me so much. The same lesson seems to have been learned by your leaders here in Thailand. Before I came to this country, perhaps a decade ago, I read of an article a few years ago describing the traffic here in Bangkok. It highlights the resiliency and the innovativeness of your people, but at the same time, it also showed the problems then existing. I read how some motorists, some of your biggest businessmen, would ride in a pickup truck. The truck would have a motorcycle at the back of their pickup truck. And the reason for this was when they were caught up in a traffic jam, they would come out of the pickup, ride the motorcycle, and meet their appointments. The article may have been an exaggeration, but I'm sure we are all aware of similar horror stories about Bangkok traffic then. But as I arrived here yesterday, I cannot help but be impressed by the lack of extreme traffic. It seems that your people's talent combined with your government's ability created this extensive road network and a mass transit system that has made the horrible traffic of the past nothing but a distant memory. I was elected to achieve for my nation what you have done here in Thailand, and I must admit, it is not an easy task. My administration has inherited a number of difficult problems left behind and exacerbated by my predecessor, who was, ironically, another of my professors in economics. Let me give you an example. The Philippines currently is, I understand, the biggest importer of rice, with an estimated shortfall of 1.3 million metric tons a year. The previous government would routinely import much more than that which was necessary. In 2008, for example, they imported 2.5 million metric tons to settle the 1.3 million deficit. The net result of all of this over-importation is an increase in debt by the National Food Authority, the entity in charge and entrusted with stabilizing the rice supply as well as the prices, a debt of 177 billion pesos. Compare that with the 1.6 trillion of the national budget. Another example, in 2004, power rates needed to be adjusted, but it was an election year, so the increase was deferred, leading to an additional 200 billion pesos worth of debt for the National Power Corporation, which would ultimately be paid first by the government, but ultimately by the people themselves. It should not surprise you, therefore, that my government operates on a budget deficit because decisions were made not on sound economic principles, but were made purely on political considerations. I was elected on the promise of reducing poverty and curbing corruption. To that end, we have put in place the most comprehensive government interventions to create a more inclusive economy that provides more opportunity for all. For instance, we have a 21 billion peso or roughly $500 million conditional cash transfer program that provides stipends for the poorest of the poor, provided, and these are the conditions, that they keep their kids in school and undergo regular medical checkups. The reason for this is we have a very significant dropout rate. Of every 100 students that enter the first level of our elementary school system, only 14 graduate, and of the 14, only 2 are in the science or engineering fields. Part of the other conditions are that they undergo regular medical checkups and they get inoculated. About 40% of our people never get to see a health professional. To address that situation, we have hired 10,000 new nurses, and they have been deployed in medical clinics throughout the country, hopefully matching the need with the places that they came from. Low-cost housing projects have begun to ease the burden of our soldiers and policemen, who pay roughly about a third of their take-home pay just to rent their living spaces. They will now be afforded houses and lots that are a mere fraction of what they used to pay in rental payments. Investments in irrigation and other agricultural programs will lead to self-sufficiency and rice by the end of 2013. Already, our shortfall this year has been reduced to 800 this figure is incorrect. The shortfall is estimated to be about 600,000 metric tons, down from the 1.3 million metric tons. We have imported 860,000 metric tons to have a buffer of about 200,000, given the fact that there are still about 17 more typhoons that will visit the country. Our policies are anchored on the lessons I learned from my college professors. These policies are transparent, reliable, focused, and intensely focused at that on serving the people. There are policies anchored on practical realities and not on any fixed dogmatic ideology. Thus is the philosophy that informs my decisions as a leader of my country. Let me cite for you two examples of this. In the area of telecommunications, there has recently been a series of acquisitions and mergers which we feel could lead to concentration of power in the telecoms industry. We are taking steps to prevent that concentration by imposing regulation. We still firmly believe that monopolies are inherently inefficient. In aviation, where long-standing neglect and inertia has made it difficult to access markets, both the US and Europe, not to mention having prevented us from achieving our full potential as a tourism hub, we have liberalized the industry to allow more competition, in the first phase of which is a partial open skies policy. On the surface, these two policies may seem contradictory. We are regulating one industry and liberalizing another. What do these two initiatives have in common? At the end of the day, these two interventions, we believe, will benefit the greater number of people. The bottom line is that good governance in the 21st century is not about adherence to ideology. It is about solutions that are rooted in practical realities that recognize the unique circumstances present in each particular milieu. In the end, the only ideology that really matters is the ideology of good governance, premised on the betterment of the lives of our people. Thank you for this degree, and before I end, may I just say, I accept this honor that you have given me, and more importantly, the honor you have bestowed upon our people, but it is in recognition of their efforts that have led us to this opportunity to effect the transformational changes in our country. By the time that I do step down in 2016, you can be assured of our commitment, our undying hard work to make sure that your expression of faith today is based on reality by a transformed, progressive, peaceful country that the Philippines will be by 2016. Again, on behalf of our people, we thank you for this honor, and we hope to justify your faith in us today. Thank you, and good day.